really good. Really good. He's
What are you pouring there?
Well, just big old glass of red wine.
There you go.
Hubble is an encyclopedia page or two of his own. You don't realize the guy came back from Vietnam, went to Michigan State, walked up to the head coach of Michigan State lacrosse in the intramural building and say, "This looks like fun. Can I try it out?" And then for the next 40 years, he has been a player, a coach, an official. He founded boys programs. He founded girls programs. He won a state championship at the JV level back in the old MHS LCA days.
He's one of those guys that doesn't get the credit, and God bless Brubaker for Grosse Pointe. There'd be no Grosse Pointe. There'd be nothing on the east side if it wasn't for him. I know we give Button a lot of credit because he was at one place, and Jolly a lot of credit, but Steve seems to be one of those guys that kind of did everything. So then we forget that he did so much, right?
So here's his resume as far as he's a Detroit public school phys ed teacher for kindergartners, first graders, second graders, and third graders. Yes, big 6'3" Steve Hubble being a PE teacher for kindergartners, I think is just a visual to put in your brain. But he saw an ad in the paper from who was the guy that founded Country Day back in the early 80s?
Whatever his name was, I forgot.
He put an ad in the paper looking for lacrosse officials, and Hubble saw the ad in the paper and said, "Sure, I'll do it." Next thing, it goes another year or two, he sees another ad in the paper. De La Salle's looking for a JV coach, so he goes and he's Jolly's JV coach. Coaches Jolly's own son, Doug, to a JV state championship back in the day. And then his son is playing for Grosse Pointe South, even though he's a student at Grosse Pointe North, for Chris Ferrari back in the day. Hubble says, "You know what? I'm going to start a program at North." And then he started the girls program at North.
I know all this.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see Jen's got her microphone on.
You have me now?
We have you now.
I was having a hard time. Can you see me?
Nope, you don't have your camera on yet.
Oh my goodness.
Jen, this is not our generation of technology. So.
No, this is terrible. All right, how do I figure out my camera?
Bottom left corner, if you hover over the screen, you'll see start video.
Ah, there we go. Can you see me?
Yes,
yeah.
and are those
all right
behind you or books?
Great glasses.
They are vinyl. It's records. I'm in my parents' basement, and my dad is a tad bit of a collector.
No, that's amazing. What tad bit?
Yeah,
I have my underwear behind me, so.
So,
how is it
organized? Joining us. I told you it's t-shirts and sweatshirts and baseball hats. There's nothing formal. We're not trying to be pretty.
Yep.
But here's the history of this. Chris and I have been saying for over 3 years now, we should do a podcast. There's so many people in Michigan that we need to talk to. There's so many people in lacrosse around the state that have great stories and great messages to tell. And 3 years, even I never used the word not get it done. But anymore, use this word.
Now that wrong inside.
And so I've never met you before.
No.
I don't think we don't share the same Facebook at all Americans at the same time. I don't remember shaking hands and saying, "Hi, Jen, my name's Chris."
No, we've just spoke on the phone, I think.
And when I first found you across Michigan chapter's board, I said to Chris, "I don't know anything about the women's game. I don't know any people in the women's game. I've got to reach out to the women's side." And the first person he said is, Jen rocks. Get a hold of Jen. So
yeah, thank you.
Nice to meet you, Jen.
Yes, nice to meet you.
So I guess what I want to kind of do to start this is give us your name, rank, serial number kind of thing. What's your day job? Where are you coaching right now? Where are you? What's your activity for us?
All right. I'm actually a personal trainer. I have my own little gym for the next little while anyway. And I'm coaching. I've been there like 18, 19 years, I think now.
Okay. First question, give the name and the domain of the website of the gym if you want to do a little self-promotion. I don't think we're going to get 7,500 people to watch this kind of thing, but if one person...
Well, actually, it's gone through a bit of a, whatever, kind of being pushed out of there. So I'm not going to do any promotion right now, as I'm probably losing the lease on that. So
sorry.
All right.
But
Yes.
you're currently coaching at Birmingham.
At Birmingham.
Women's varsity.
Yeah, actually I have the whole program now. So we, middle school, we start in first grade. We tried it this year first. So I have a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and then I coach JV and varsity. So
where do you find the time?
Got them all the way through. So,
wow. So I did a little bit of internet research on you
because
I'm a digital marketing guy myself and a bit of a stalker. You are the former coach of the Michigan club team.
I was there for a few years. Yep.
And then how many state championships have you won at Birmingham?
I think I have 4.
Okay. So here's kind of the walk down memory lane history part of this. Who gave you your first stick? When did you first start playing?
I picked up lacrosse in college, Ohio Wesleyan. I was a soccer basketball player.
Okay.
I wanted to transfer to play softball in my sophomore year. And my soccer coach handed me a lacrosse stick and said, try this. So I picked it up. First game I ever saw was the first one I played in. And I think my coach might still be officiating, Linda Strapp. She's in Ohio. And I see her on the field every once in a while, which is pretty cool.
That is great.
I did not know you were a bishop, Jen. I forgot.
What's that?
I forgot you were a bishop.
Yes. Yep. Fell in love with it.
Jen and I have known each other way longer than we care to admit.
Birmingham days.
A long time ago.
Yes. Yes.
I'm barely hearing you, so you might have to move closer to the mic.
Who, me or her?
Chris.
Me? Okay, hold on. Good? Better? Better?
Much better.
Okay.
So, Jen, were you born in Michigan? Were you raised in Michigan? How did you get to Ohio Wesleyan? How did you get back to Michigan?
Born and raised East Side, went to Trader, grew up at 8 Mile in Gratiot, and I went to a Lutheran school. Then that's where I started. I played soccer year round. That was my sport. And then, played basketball, volleyball, softball, that sort of thing. Ohio Wesleyan was actually a soccer move for me. And the small school was very good for me. And then that's where I picked up lacrosse.
Awesome.
Came back, had a short stint in Alaska. That was going to be my big move after college. But then came back here to go to grad school at Wayne State. And then I actually was working at a gym in Grosse Pointe. And the coach at Grosse Pointe South actually saw that I had a lacrosse shirt on. And she's like, I need a coach. So I started coaching at Grosse Pointe South and was there 4 years and then followed Marianne Meltzer at Birmingham.
Yep. So wait, you did go to Alaska or you almost went to Alaska?
I did. For a very short time. I was there 6 months. Loved it. Would love to go back and live there someday. So we'll see.
It's funny. I'm having fun with these, and this is the third one that we're doing. Chris and I did one with John Losey last night, and then Steve Hull and I did one this afternoon from his place up north, and me in my den. And part of Steve's story was he almost moved to Alaska, and just to have 2 of these things done, and both people mention guys. His wife was going to go up there and be a teacher, and the school district that she was going to teach for was a 10,000 square mile radius.
Oh my gosh!
Of land. And then they wanted him to be the phys ed teacher and the basketball coach, but every game would be a road game where they get into a puddle jumper, plane to fly somewhere. And he went, new kid at home.
Yes.
We're not going to be flying all over Alaska for our jobs.
Yeah.
Just funny that 2 lacrosse teams and both of you guys have Alaska.
That is funny.
So you started from Grosse Pointe, north? No,
I was at South.
Okay. And coincidentally, Hubble started the girls and boys programs at Grosse Pointe North. So this is dovetail well. What year?
I was there 98 through 2001.
And then came back to Birmingham.
I never left. Yes. Yep. Been there ever since.
So I have a 10-year-old little girl. I have a 4.5-year-old girl. She's 5 minutes. I'm up in Carson and trying to paper for my team starting now learning girl side of the game from the participation numbers up here. Is this fact that the culture is already there in Birmingham and people want their kids to play already? Are you just coming out, Jen? How do you have a 1st through 12th grade program going?
The person who actually started the middle school program, she has a better job than I'm doing because you can do too much. And I was doing too much for a while. So I really delegated the middle school program.
Okay.
And the people that were a lot of parents just didn't and I had some good coaches that would train young women and how I was it. The last year's have been real lucky with that. I did doing the 5th and straight team. So I've actually been very fortunate that I kind of just get to oversee things, and this year I had stepped in a little bit more as a coach maybe. So that was something great. Yeah, but it really has just been kind of like, you know, we 3-4 years ago we added the second grade program, and that's doing so well. Then we just kind of see like, well, we have interest from first grade. Let's go first grade. We're going to do this year first and second grade instructional, like 1 day a week instructional program, and the third, fourth is 2 days a week. But we didn't even have a kindergarten yet, so it's just kind of like we were out there. We did the rest of it.
Oh, that's great. Do you many high schools to be teams?
I do not anymore. Back in the day, I started Detroit Lacrosse, and I don't even know where it was a long time ago. But then I over here and year training. But I found I'm doing lacrosse, and I needed a break. Lacrosse year for me was a lot, and I wasn't excited about it anymore. So it was good for me to kind of be able to pass that off to the season, and that was good.
I used to spend every summer coaching, and I'd be going on the East Coast from the coaching the same trail program. We'd be in Trail, we'd be everywhere. But now with I got 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, as soon as it's done.
Yeah.
I am done. I bug out and I go camping and I sit around bonfires and drink cocktails with friends, and just summer's mine again. It's great. Now,
yeah,
my girl is paying for him, and his buddies are out, so now I'm sure if you're back on the weekend, turnications, as they call them. But it was nice for a couple years to have a break.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I think about getting back into it, and I've followed and just kind of gone to the tournaments and watched it. So I do enjoy that part of it.
Try to be in the middle of, you know, that line of lawn chairs and all the liquored up parents and their cups full of
yes. I can go there. I won't be running.
Back to you kind of run a program to guard all that. I think for the people who watch or listen to it, you know, right? It's like a little bit smaller than that. That's the cost to get that done. Is that alumni? What's you know, you're overseeing it, and you're obviously the boss. So how do you get to follow you down the path to do that? I think that would be a pretty good question for, you know, I think any right now, because that development is probably how you got to the state championships. I would guess. Honestly,
I've been very fortunate in that in the high school program, I've always had amazing help. Since the first year that I've been at Birmingham, I had a married couple that were awesome. Ginny and Casey we were together for 14, 15 years, I think, before they moved. And so just having help in the high school allows me to help other places also, or spread myself a little bit more around, knowing that everything in the high school is pretty much taken care of. So, I mean, even now, I always fortunately have an awesome, large staff. And then in the middle school, truly, it's like when things start scrambling a little bit, something always comes up, whether it's alumni or parents knowing honestly, it's other kids in the area also. Since Birmingham is such a lacrosse community, you know, getting kids from Marion, Cranbrook, Bloomfield, those people to help out also. But the longevity of my coaches has been huge. Like the coaches come into the program and stay in the program, which is huge.
Right. That's awesome. So you basically take the CEO approach and kind of just oversee everybody and let them do their jobs. So that's a really good, where a lot of coaches probably want to be control freaks and you're going to run it my way and do it my way. You've taken on that, you know, be the best version of you. And I'm just going to, that's probably some good, we just got the nugget of knowledge for U.S. lacrosse.
Well, let me follow that up. Being the CEO of the program, you give them the autonomy to run their teams, do their stuff, but do you give them guidance as far as terms, plays, drills, trying to get I remember David Soffren was the football coach that inherited the program from Al Fracassa at Brother Rice. Mm-hmm. And he was very frustrated that the JV was running a different offense than the freshman was running, than the varsity was running. And so football terms, they were doing a West Coast offense on freshman team. They were doing a wing in the JV, and then varsity, they're doing a pro-style offense. And the kids would come up, and rather than being in the same system for 2 years and stepping right into the plays, now it was starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Do you give them guidance? Do you tell them don't do that stuff, focus on fundamentals? How you still guide them? What direction do they get?
I would say I'm not as good as I would like to be. I'm not a organized person at all. But I like my 7th and 8th grade coach, who I had for 5-6 years. She knew what our plays were on varsity, and she tried to just put in the very basics. of it, of our motion offense. The JV coaches that we had for a little while, like they knew our offense and they tried to implement it a little bit more. They were also free to kind of create their own plays. Like the high school players love to kind of create some of their own funky plays. And so that was fun. They were able to teach our attack, but also kind of implement some of their own fun stuff. And then we run a weird zone defense. So we would try and show that a little bit. So they would come down and watch some practices, but really that was more of a varsity thing that we tried to drill into the kids. Just recently, I actually really like passing on the U.S. Lacrosse coaching app. I think that mobile app is great. And so I share that with the younger programs. I mean, I even use it for the older kids just to get some fun drill ideas. I used it this week, or the tryout week even. It was kind of one of those days where it was like, we knew that school was probably going to be canceled. So I was like, all right, we need to have some fun today at practice or tryouts. So I brought up the games that they play for the U7 teams, and we played 2 of those games. So I think U.S. Lacrosse has some great stuff just for like the basic coaching practice plans. And then, yeah, we try and get it throughout our program so they know kind of the basics of what our attack and defense are. But it's really, we let the coaches do their own thing also.
All right. And so for my friends that are going to pick on me and say, you told her to say that, we didn't
no.
say that, okay?
No, that was all me.
So she's talking about there is an app in the App Store, if you have an Android or a mobile device or iPhone, called USL Mobile Coach. And if you have a US Lacrosse membership, you log into it. It has drills, it has pointers, it has video, it has everything. I use it with my 3rd and 4th graders. I have not confirmed whether or not Kolon has tried to pull it out in games for Detroit Mercy, but
I'm a Shake School guy. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So Jen, I'm going to keep peppering you with questions and advice. So as a guy that has grown up in men's lacrosse, has been my life since 8th grade. This is what I do. When people say Drouin, they go, oh, the lacrosse guy. Like, that's what I do. Men's side. Now I've got my 2 little girls that I'm starting to coach, and I'm coaching them with the same fundamentals as I coach the boys, as far as rotate your shoulders, turn your hips, left foot forward on the right. Like, I can teach throwing and catching to a 10-year-old little girl, no problem.
Yeah.
Where do you suggest I go to really understand the rules of the game? Because I'm a NILOA ref. I do NCAA lacrosse. I don't understand what those darn cards are for in your game. I don't understand why they throw their sticks down after every goal. It is the same name, the same game, but it is completely foreign to me. Where's the best place for me to just watch my first game and learn the rules and learn the differences?
You know what? That's a great question, because watching the U.S. Lacrosse, we did a rules and term meeting with the team beforehand, and they do a great job of putting the new rules and new concepts out there. And the women's game is changing dramatically in the last couple of years. This year, free motion, and so I think it will become less confusing to the men now watching it, with not as many stops going on. But I actually haven't seen like a basic beginner video that I think is a good resource. It's got to be out there. But that's actually a great question, because I would love to show it to my young kids and my young parents that are like, we have no idea what this game is. Like, where's a basic resource? I unfortunately haven't done very much research to find that. I would hope it's out there. I would think US Lacrosse puts something out there. But they're so focused on the new rules, which they need to be, that I don't know if there is just that general overall video that's out there.
We so with my role in U.S. Lacrosse Michigan as the president, it's I'm more focused on first stick programs, grants, diversity and inclusion, membership, coach education programs, and then my own personal development and training. I'm always going to my continuing education for officials and stuff like that. So I feel like kind of an imposter that I don't know the game and I'm sitting in this role, but I want to make the effort, not just because of this role, but because of my little girls and coaching them. One thing that I've always had a lot of fun with is, as I joke about the parents in the folding chairs and their red Solo cups full of cocktails, if I do any of these summer tournaments, the Kaminskis brothers have all the Lax Bash and Boo Bash and all that kind of stuff. I tell them, put me on the youth games. Put me on the little guys. I love doing those games because I insist on not taking the coach's side. I take the parent side, and I walk up to them beforehand, and I say to everyone, hey, everybody, my name is Chris. If you have questions, ask me. Like, you have access to somebody right now that will answer your questions because your little 3rd and 4th grade Johnny – your job is to scream, great job, hustle, shoot it, legs, all that kind of goofy stuff you yell, but, I'm here to answer your questions. And I've had people come up to me at halftime and go, what's that thing on your belt you keep clicking? Oh, my timer? Just goofy questions. How high is this flag? Can I hold on to one? And just giving those parents, the ability to ask those questions, they started coming up with some stuff that I didn't realize, like, just for me, it's second nature that really needed to be explained. So what Kaminskis did was we had a bunch of rain delays or rain and some delays or something. He had his wife, Jessica, pull out her iPhone, and she was recording me in front of a whiteboard describing offsides, saying that it's not that they only have 2 back, it's that they don't have 5-0, and breaking down to the parents that they tweeted out, like, this is what offsides is. This is what over and back is. We have these goofy rules, and here's kind of why we do it. Because these parents, little Johnny comes home and says, I want to play lacrosse. And great, now what? So maybe that is something that I'm going to really push. Anna Kluch is also on the board with us. She's our VP. Maybe she and I need to start doing some of that stuff. Just kind of a beginner's guide to – most people in our game understand the rules because, like hockey, the ball goes in the goal, the puck goes in the goal, it's a goal. It's the ball goes out of bounds like basketball, the ball goes out of bounds like soccer. We have the same rules. But some of our finicky, really goofy stuff, maybe this is a chance for us to start putting some of that out there and just, again, there's not going to be fancy graphics and white screens and interactive telestrators like on CBS, but I think if we put something like that out, people would probably watch it.
I think it's a great idea. We actually put together a cheat sheet for our parents in the high school program, but really of kind of the new rules, but then also just kind of basics of what all the whistles were. And then one thing we did 2 years ago, and we did it twice and got really great reviews, is we did a clinic for the parents. And it was rules and lines on the field, but we also made them bring a stick. And we did it with the high school kids, but I really wanted to do it with the little kids. Like when they ask you to go out and play catch with them, don't take a baseball mitt, like show them how to, why we're using this stick, what the different parts of the stick are. Your kid says, here, I need to fix my strings on my stick. Like, what does that mean? And what should you do to help your 2nd grade daughter with that? And that went over really, really well. So I would love to do something like that in different programs. I think that was a lot of fun.
It's funny because I always have sticks in the car, in the truck, wherever. So I went out to my son's Cub Scout camp when he was in 2nd grade. So this would have been spring 2019. And I knew we were going to have some downtime. It's Cub Scout camp. They can't build enough fires and BB guns and everything. So I threw 10 sticks in the car and a couple dozen balls and just kind of threw them out to get kids used to it. Yeah. More of the dads were the ones that were picking them up going, man, I would have been good at this. Like, I wish I would have had this when I was there. I wasn't big enough for basketball, or I wasn't fast enough for track. I could have done this. And then as soon as you start teaching them, like, just like the quarterback, turn your shoulders, follow through. Like, don't put, like, those dads were getting it so fast. And next thing you know, they're at Stinson Miller buying a couple of sticks, and now they're assistant coaches and everything else. So it's been I love that kind of stuff. And if there's a way we can do more parent work, we should absolutely do it. Yeah. Chris, you're awfully quiet over there. I just keep looking at your Prince shirt. I can't get a word in, man.
I can't get a word in. So I'm doing my Jen, how much do you think your strength and conditioning background has helped you as a coach? I think people really underestimate that part of the expertise. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I actually, for a long time, have said I don't think I have meshed my 2 careers very well. I offer it to the kids always. For my entire career, I've offered it to the kids kind of in the off season. Like, I started out going to Grosse Pointe South after school a couple times a week. And then I was at Seahome a few times a week, and then, let them come to my gym for free in the off season. I kind of found it's almost like adding one more crazy thing into their schedule. So, and then like at practices, like I'm not very good at, all right, let's line up and do sprints. I'm more of a, and they, you know, I would even have kids like, we need to run more. I was like, but you're running for 2 hours because our drills are so intense. Like, so it's me trying to explain to them kind of the balance of strength and conditioning also, in that, like, this is why we're doing these things at practice, so that you don't necessarily need to just go and run sprints afterwards or beforehand. I did finally mesh one thing in this year in the off season. I wanted to set a challenge for my kids just to do something basic, and our stick skills have actually been very poor in the last few years. So I did a challenge that they had to, before they could play on the field in a varsity game this year, they had to do 250 wall ball, right-handed, left-handed, without a drop, and then from 10 feet back. So we built up to it. It was 27 weeks from the start of the school year till the start of the lacrosse season. And then we also I tried to pick something that I knew that none of the kids could do. And so a running challenge, you know, definitely crossed my mind, but the majority, like, you're going to have some of those kids that are superstar runners and then some that basically may never be able to accomplish it. So I could have scaled that running.
Chris and I fall into that second category.
But so then I realized, like, none of the girls can do push-ups. None of them. They're really poor at them. So we did a push-up challenge, and they had to do, again, we had 27 weeks. So they had to get 27 push-ups by tryout week, and before they could play, they had to get 27 push-ups in a row, like chest to floor push-ups. And that was really, really fun to see that how much work that they put into that, because that was one thing I did get to do in tryout week is they all did their push-ups, and it was awesome to see how much work that they put into that. And I do think that is part of the strength aspect that will now carry over for a long time for them, hopefully forever. So that was one thing that's really fun. The other thing is I do have, you know, the kids that do take me up on it and come into the gym and train. My goal in that is to be able to teach them enough about training that when they go away to college, they can do it on their own. So many of the kids come back and have no idea what to do when they walk into a weight room. And so I try and teach them enough that they can create their own program when they go away to school. So that's like my highlight as a strength coach, is that the kids can then write their own programs, you know, when they go away to college. And that's been really fun to see the girls come through the program, come back when they're, you know, in college and say, I can walk into the weight room, you know, I'm not afraid to walk up to the squat rack and squat with the guys that are standing around, or start doing a deadlift when all the guys are just standing around. So that's been fun.
That's really cool. What about nutrition? Do you do any in-season or out-of-season nutrition coaching for them, or they come to you for advice at all?
The more of just the advice. I will hand out a little bit. I'm not a nutrition expert. We definitely get into conversations kind of one-on-one with them, but that's not something I kind of hand out to the whole of them.
Okay. So I wanted to get back to you know, kind of some of the strength conditioning stuff, but more, you mentioned that you went off to college as a soccer volleyball player? Soccer basketball, got into lacrosse. Mm-hmm. Chris and I have had conversations, everyone is having this conversation now about the specialization in our sport and the specialization of youth athletes in general. I had the exact opposite problem in my house, where my kids won't pick a damn sport and stick with it. I don't want to do volleyball this year. I want to try gymnastics. I don't want to do soccer. I want to do basketball. Like, can we please just pick 2 or 3 and be happy with those? But we're trying everything still.
Yeah.
Your experience as a multi-sport athlete that clearly had success at the collegiate level and in high school, are you seeing the specialization come to the girls' game as well? And are you seeing anything that you're doing to be able to push back against it? Or are you all in favor of specialization? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I would love the kids to all be 3-sport athletes. I think there's definitely I get a number of volleyball players that come out, or swimmers, or like cross country kids. And then I wish we had a ton of hockey players and basketball players. I love when they play multiple sports. It keeps them active. There's just not they don't understand sports at this point. And that's hard to coach at the varsity level, like teaching how to move and why to move. And I do think that is my biggest challenge as a coach, is because they don't have, I don't know if they've only played lacrosse all along, or I'm not sure, but I don't think we're teaching them the skills.
And I'm going to jump in on that. I have a take on that. I think a lot of times we spend so much time on instruction, and we're spending so much time in instruction where I think a person like you, and it blows my mind. I want kids to do it all the time, or go to a speed coach, go to learn how to lift weights, get stronger. Just the basic stuff. If you're strong and you have fast twitch muscles, you're going to be fast, right? You'll be a faster runner. You'll play faster lacrosse. Everything will be great. It blows my mind the amount of kickback that you get. Well, I'd rather just do wall ball. Well, do a little bit of wall ball, but then you also need to learn how to run. You also need to learn how to do basic. You need to learn how to stretch. One of the things I learned that I've noticed from some of these PLL people and WPLL people, I saw them this summer. The reason that they, I think, excelled more than the general public is because lacrosse, that's a part of it, and your skills are a great part of it. But then weight training, speed training, all that stuff was so important. I wish more people did that kind of stuff. We have the same struggles on the guy side. I mean, there's some kids that the first time that they have a real strength and conditioning program is when they go to college. I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
So my take, if we're giving opinions, when kids enter high school, if they're going to specialize or do 3 sports or whatever, make sure you have a strength and conditioning coach. Make sure you have somebody beyond just the general stuff. I mean, you can find enough information, but as you're learning, it seems like you're having that same issue on the girls' side, that they just don't see a value in that kind of stretching, lifting, and speed.
Yeah. I try and tell my kids that, I was the best athlete. I was a decent athlete, and I was a better athlete between 30 and 35 than I was in college because I was lifting and I was serious about it. And I was, I got really strong. I was faster and then also smarter about it. But putting that strength and conditioning in was so huge to just my career, myself. And the girls, they're afraid to lift. It's changed a little bit, I think, with the advent of CrossFit. But I think definitely still in the Birmingham area, the kids are afraid to lift.
Do you think it's afraid to lift because
I think that's wild.
Muscles aren't attractive or muscles are masculine, or is it intimidation of that's that room with the loud music and the grunty, sweaty people in it, and I don't want to, and I'm intimidated by it?
I still think it's muscles, and you don't want to be too big.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean they're all working out somewhere. So it's kickboxing or doing the really high intensity different classes, but it's not walking up to the bar and deadlifting 225. That's just not cool right now.
Gotcha.
Jen, I've gotten into the steel mace,
Yeah.
The steel mace training.
That's awesome.
That stuff. I mean, I'm lifting 10 and 15 pounds and killing myself.
Yeah.
The same way I did with heavy weight on bars. So, I mean, my point is that you can find, and there's a little bit more safety to it. That's why I kind of like it. And it's, again, I've been lifting weights long enough. I'm done. I like to try different things. And my point to all these people is you can do something, but you have to value it and put the time in. Instead of playing 20 hours a week of wall ball or just, static shooting, right? Which kids will go spend $5 up at Sean's place up at Stinson Miller and shoot 3 times a week. Good, shoot 1 time a week, but then, or twice a week, and 1 time a week, go learn how to lift weights.
Yeah.
Or get faster. So it's a struggle that I hope changes in the next, as things get more competitive. That the kids that start doing that will get better faster.
As, you know, we kind of have come up with this concept on the fly, and we're booking guests minutes, hours in advance. Chris, maybe we need to get a Nick Wilson on here and just say, Nick.
Jed's an expert, man.
You know how hard it was to get her on in the first place?
I'm trying to get free training for God's sakes. I need some training, for God's sakes.
Well, you know what, though? For a while, I worked with a couple of the Emily Bossonnet when she played for Detroit, who's now the coach at Pitt. She came in when she was training for Team Canada, and got to work with her and a couple of her teammates. And it is so fun when the girls get in there and they're serious and they, know what they're doing enough, and you can just make tweaks to their movements and their mechanics, and watching how much they really enjoy doing that and knowing that it is just going to transform their game. It's really fun to watch those high-level athletes, or the athletes getting to that point in there, enjoying the weight room and going hard and knowing that there is an end goal in this, to their game, and this is helping them get there.
Yeah, I shoot a lot with Izzy Skane, and that's where everyone thinks about her game and how much better it's gotten with the U19 into her sophomore year, and it's just her conditioning and her strength is just through the chart, off the charts now compared to where it was. I think that's getting to college and getting into a normal program with a great strength coach over there.
Exactly.
I think I'd love to see it just a little earlier with kids.
Yeah.
Boys and girls.
So Jen, what is the right age for? And I know that they developed at different ages, but is it a magic number of, 7th grade, 3rd grade, 7 years old, boy, girl? When do you think is the right time to introduce strength and conditioning to a young athlete?
I mean, you can start introducing the mechanics of it at any age. And I think one of the downfalls is that we don't have PE classes much anymore at all. But just basic mechanics of squatting, pushing, hinging can be taught, kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, just all the way through. Just learning those mechanics is huge. And then, give them a PVC pipe to teach them how to clean, deadlift. So teaching the basic, those movements can start really early. One of the things I do think is huge is when the high school programs actually have it at the high school. I went and played out at Rockford, and they showed me their strength program, or their strength room. And they have a dedicated strength coach who is there during the school day. And I mean, someone might be able to correct me on this, but the way I took it was they have classes going every hour. And the athletes actually have to apply to the class to get in. And then they might have like 40 kids per hour in their strength room or in their weight room, which is that it's just huge. I mean, make it a part of the school day, make it a part of the PE curriculum. That makes all the difference, I think.
Wow. That's huge.
Old Lake Central has that now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's huge.
Yeah,
I'm a preference guy. I like 4 or 5 people in a group. I think those big classes are tough.
They are. You have to.
Especially when you're learning.
You cut out there at the end. Sorry.
I'm frozen.
Oh, he's frozen.
Okay.
He's back.
Yeah, I think I'm back. I've always wanted to do where you actually do a workout, a small, even body weight workout, and then you train your lacrosse. And it's amazing. I've been wanting to do that for like 10 years. Nobody wants to do it. They either, I just want to play lacrosse, need skills, run drills. Nobody wants to do that kind of strength and conditioning part and then train, which I think it would help so many people. All those PLL guys, that's how they train. And I think kids need to start doing it, but what do I know?
Well, the best shape of my life I was ever in was when I was at West Point Prep. We'd get up at 6 a.m. and do PT, and they'd give us 1-inch dowel rods, and you get your battle buddy, and you do, tension and equal pressure against each other on all kinds of different movements. Then we'd go on a couple-mile run. Then we'd have to go to class. Then we'd have lacrosse practice. Then after 2 hours of lacrosse practice, then we'd hit the weight room. Yeah, I was in pretty darn good shape back then. It's like 10 hours of physical activity a day. So we touched on a lot about the strength conditioning stuff. We touched on kind of educating people in your program. What kind of little walk down memory lane, if we're going to have some fun with it, give us your favorite memory as a player. Give us your favorite memory as a coach.
I think as a player, I remember my final game. It was terrible weather. And I remembered kind of how far I had come. I finally got my stick skills to where they should be, because early in the career, I just got thrown on defense, and it was like, don't let them go to goal. So finally had my stick skills on me as a senior in college. So being a contributor finally in my last game, I mean, being on the field, but being able to really be a part of the game was a lot of fun. And sad that it was over, really. Favorite memories as a coach. I mean, state championship games are always fun. I mean, they're awesome, but I also remember, the state championship losses are very memorable. And I remember the kids. I remember the kids that decided that led us to our first state championship, and them being on the field crying the year before and not leaving for 2 hours because they decided they weren't going to lose again. And they came back and they led the team to the next state championship. And wow. That was awesome. And that's the kind of passion and desire I want to see every year. And how as a coach do I try and instill that in them? I don't know if I have one single memory that I just always go back to, and that's the one, but there's a lot.
The memory of those girls staying on the field saying, we're not going to lose next year. That's,
yeah.
I'm getting tingles just thinking about that. That's awesome. Who's kind of that where are they now player that you're hoping sees this and reaches out to you and says, hey coach, remember me?
It's funny because I reconnect with several of the kids, and I am not a social media person at all. So I start asking them questions like, where are you now? What are you doing? And I feel bad because they all know that about each other. I would love to see someone from that class of, I think it was like 2007, those kids that started that rally. That was really kind of my first gang that was kind of, I took through their whole career, and they really kind of got it. Wow. So there was a handful of them. One of them went on to West Point, and I think is still in the military. And then there's a couple others that I haven't heard from in a while. So it would be cool to hear from them.
Awesome.
So I guess it would be 2007 grads.
Okay. They're on notice. 2007 grads. Coach,
yes.
You reach out to her. As far as, one of the reasons why we're doing this is within my role of U.S. Lacrosse is it's helping me recruit people to get on committees, whether it's, again, grants, scholarships, first stick programs, diversity, inclusion, coaches education. Is there a particular area that you think U.S. Lacrosse needs to do a better job at here in Michigan as a chapter? And which committee can I recruit you to join to help make it better?
Let me say that I've been bad about doing anything extra for a long time. And I think I do finally have time and am in the right headspace to do it. A couple years ago, Chip recruited me to go through the coaches training thing. Yeah. And I was not, in fact, I was fairly certain I was done coaching at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that was kind of hard to commit to. I got a little excited about doing it, but then I never followed through. So I have been a failure on U.S. Lacrosse committees before. I think, I would love to see more coaches education. But then I also on the women's side, our connection between officials and coaches is is bad. And I guess I'm the whole, like bringing just the whole coaches association together. We do a very poor job of that, of all of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it'll take, but I mean, the high school coaches, I don't think I've ever gone to a middle school coaches meeting, even though I think they have them. And then I know it's our officials board, his boards have just always been kind of not together.
Gotcha.
So somehow we need to bring the women's game together somehow.
Okay. Well, it's kind of the exact, I can't get away from the coaches on our side of it. I mean, I was joking with somebody that, my first 7-8 years of reffing, every time I went out for a coin toss, the captains before a game, it was one of my former players from a travel team walking up there. Hey, coach, we're supposed to pretend we don't know each other. Like, knock it off. And if you just go around Oakland County, half the coaches in the area were a teammate of mine, were a fraternity brother of mine, were a guy I played against, was a guy I played, on a travel team with. Like, I can't go anywhere and not walk up to both coaches beforehand, and they want to give each other a hug and say hello, and it's it's good and bad some days when they know you, your name, and your wife's name too. But I know that on the men's side, Oakland County is such an old boys network with a lot of this stuff, and we've done a good job of getting the kids that we coach to now come back and give back and play. I'm really excited because a kid like JD Hess that played for Chris that I've known since he was, a high school player is now the new head coach at Notre Dame Prep, and he's going to take some of the other UDM guys with him there. I do 5-6 Notre Dame Prep games a year probably. Whether it was back in the days of Paulie yelling at me or when Hebert was there or it was Senate, it's just another link in the chain of more guys that grew up in the area giving back to the area. So we're very lucky to have that. Maybe that's one of the things that we really need to start doing is getting our stuff like this done where we let people know that they're welcome to come back and give back. And whether it's coaching, playing, officiating, we want them to not hang up their stick at the end of their 4 years and turn their back on the game.
Right. I think Toby at Oakland has done a great job with that on the women's side. He is always getting his players into it, which is awesome. I mean, he's definitely a resource for us to go to when people are looking for coaches.
He was one of the first people that reached out to me when I said we were going to do this. And we said we're looking for guests and said, hey, I'd love to come on and talk about the women's game and club college ball. We all know, God bless Toby. He is fantastic for that program, fantastic for that game. I'm a proud Oakland University graduate, and I love what he's doing there with the team. But as a men's coach and playing against him, you wanted to strangle the kid.
I think people feel that way coaching against him and officiating for him also.
The passion comes through. You can't knock it.
It is awesome. It is awesome. Yes.
Definitely reach out to him. Who else should we have on this podcast? Who should I reach out to, whether it's somebody from your former players, your biggest competitor, rival coach, somebody that mentored you, somebody that you mentored? Who else should we have on this on this podcast to teach me more about the women's game and to help promote the game overall? This is still something that burns in me all the time. A question I always have is, so when the west side of the state came on in the game, it's all men's coaches. We're predominantly men's coaches. And where the east side before was all women's coaches. And I kind of want to know the difference in and I've heard them speak a little bit. I want to know what they do different than what I or we as female coaches do. Because they've definitely built some amazing programs. And I think, I had a male coach for a while also, and you guys definitely bring something different to the game. And I think that's it's important to hear and listen and learn about why or how they get more or different success than we do. But the west side of the state, definitely Rich and Mike have done phenomenal jobs with building their programs. And so I think they're huge guests to have on. I reached out to Mike. I sent him an email. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. Summer Allred, I believe it's pronounced, or Aldred. Yeah. She was going to try to join us tonight. She's moving and couldn't jump on, but she's young. She just started the Cast Tech program. I want to, as we've said, not calling you old, Jen, but
I know.
You've been there.
I've been there. Yes.
She's got 1 year of head coaching under her belt in a program that she founded in a district that has no other teams. I thought the dichotomy of the two of you experiences would be fun to kind of put you both.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe we'll have to do that one down the road. But we're going to get her on. I want to get the head coach from Central Michigan on. I want to get Toby on. I'm interested in talking to anybody and everyone that is willing to give us an hour of their life and say, yeah, I love lacrosse. Here's what it's done for me. Here's what I want to give back, or here's what we're working on.
Yeah. The Grand Valley coach, Mackenzie Lawler, she was the Central coach's assistant coach. But she also grew up playing in the Okemos program. So
I think
she's a great person.
I think she is one of the coaches development program trainers.
Okay. Yeah. She's an awesome, I love lacrosse. I want to promote this. She runs maybe Michigan Elite travel program and kind of instructional program. Would be a great guest to have on.
Awesome. If there's one question you want us to ask a future guest, put them on the hot seat for anything.
Wait, I got two questions before that one. Major important questions. I'll start with the really important question that I can't get past. What's the best album best two albums back there?
Oh, wow. You know what? Those are my dad's. I'm in my parents' basement, and he's got you know what? I'm not a music guy for as much as my dad is DJ'd, and that's what he does. He plays music. I'm not a music person. It's kind of bizarre.
Oh,
I know.
I've been trying to look behind you the whole time to figure out what's going on back there.
He's got so much. He says he has stuff that he's never seen in a record store anywhere, and he trusts me. He goes to a lot of record stores, so he has everything from jazz to bluegrass to rock. I think he has a program from the original Elvis tour that he went on. So kind of cool.
I'm going to share my screen, Chris. This is what's going on my other monitor. I keep looking over. Nugs is replaying the Texas Dead and Company show from last year for free tonight. So yeah, I'm still a dork. Still going to call my people dead. So we said an hour. It's 9:57. Is there anything else that Jen wants to share with us? Anything that Jen wants to promote? Anything that Jen wants to tell the world? Chris, any last
question? I got one more question.
Okay.
I got one more question.
All right.
How short can the season be this year?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I would go with 6 weeks. I mean, that would be
6 weeks into playoffs or 6 weeks including playoffs.
6 weeks plus like a week and a half, a very quick playoff. So maybe 7.5 weeks total.
Would you play over Memorial Day weekend? Would you cancel and say we need Memorial Day weekend back? Yes,
play over Memorial Day weekend.
Would you be open to getting the regular season games in, going to a festival style weekend event where we're going to say 4 teams, 1 location, they play 22-minute running clock halves, switch sides at halftime, like we do in all the tournaments for the youth and for the summer stuff. If we have to get games in, would you be willing to go to modified rules, 2-man reffing crews, we roll through them?
Yeah, I would. The kids just want to play at this point.
Yeah.
I just want to play.
Colin, I tried to find that tweet. Some dad tweeted out last week that he's a Michigan father. He doesn't want to see his son's season end. So we had this whole tweet about how if we go to, 6 teams per location on a Saturday and you play every other hour, you can get 3-4 games in. But, the kids are used to it because they go to all these summer tournaments and they go to all these festivals. I'm like I've said on this, with Losi the other night, my title as president of U.S. Lacrosse Michigan means nothing. I have no authority. I have no responsibility. I could call Tom Rashid right now and make a demand and he'd hang up on me. But we're trying to just have the conversation. And if we can talk to coaches and parents and players for good ideas, bad ideas, we're going to start throwing them against the wall and see if we can get some coaches just to have the conversation on how we can save the season. Because I know I want to ref I'm getting fatter by the day, eating like crap sitting around my house. And I know I could get guys like Chris Kolon and some of his players to come out and ref some of the youth stuff. If we've got to get more guys in the high school stuff, we all want to try to save it. So we're just looking for ideas.
Yeah, I would love to be able to put something together. I hopefully we can do it. We would be up for anything. I know the kids just want to play. I got a video from a dad the other day of his senior out on her bounce back. It was the exact time of when our first game should have been, and she was out in the yard throwing against the bounce back. So I think we would be up for anything.
Yeah, I'm sitting here today and trying to not think about it and trying to not be depressed about it. And I put all my games in my calendar at the start of the season when I got my assignment. So I'm supposed to be reffing Adrian versus Franciscan University. I was supposed to be there at 11 o'clock this morning. And it pops up and there's my reminder. And I'm like, there's another game we missed.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, let us know where you land. If you don't, I've been trying to get something going with the strength and condition coach up at where Stenson Meller is.
Okay.
It's obviously it's a turf where it'd have to be a lot of free weight stuff, but I've been trying to get something going with where it's 30 minutes of training, 30 minutes of skills.
Okay.
Just follow up. Let's see if we can work something out.
All right. That sounds good.
Jen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has been really cool. So on behalf of Chris.
An hour. Holy shit.
That's the hour. Colin, again with the swearing. That's the first thing Anne Marie said when she watched the video. He swore twice in the video. So we're going to be family friendly. We're going to try. Jen, again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I know you're not a social media person, but everyone else can follow us on Twitter. Everyone can follow us on Facebook. Follow me and Chris. We're both on Twitter. We'll put it in the bumper at the end of this. And any suggestions, feedback, comments, questions, leave them in the YouTube comments. We're open to feedback from any and everyone. We missed lacrosse, and we just want to keep talking about it if we can't be playing it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
You're the best.
All right. Good night. Bye.